everybody. My name is Antti Myllymäki, and I work as Head of Artificial Intelligence Center of Excellence at OP Financial Group. And during the next 40 minutes, I'm going to talk you through our 3-year artificial intelligence journey that started in late 2016, and then the key results that we ended up launching during 2018. Sounds good? Yes, it's few odd nods here and there, and for the data science community, it means that people are extremely excited about this area. A couple of words about myself. Before joining OP, I spent some 11 years at Deloitte, supporting manufacturing customers, high-tech manufacturing companies, and gaming companies to implement information management, and the last 5-6 years also a lot of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And a couple of words about the OP Financial Group. Some 65% of the Finnish population is our customers. We have 30-something market share for the loans, for mortgages, for non-life insurance. Banking is doing good, non-life insurance and wealth management not so good. But basically that's it. In the end of 2016, we were in a situation that many of our partners, many of the messages coming through across the medias was that artificial intelligence / big data / mass data / advanced analytics will change the financial services for good. And it will disrupt our business. There will be new competitors. It will create new roles for us. And it was basically the same message as in the big data era, late 2014 and 2015. You all seen that. But basically, our analysis at that point was that this is something that we have to investigate a bit further. And we were not sure if this will be same kind of phenomenon as mobile in 2011 and business design in 2015, 2014 will be. But we didn't know that, but the company decided that, okay, this is something that we must understand in more details, not to get left out. And we created a project and started working from there. But I say that we didn't want just to understand the modeling and to do the traditional things in the same way, but with the slightly different tools. So for us already when we started the journey, that AI must be also enabler to our existing business, not just disruptor that 5 years later, 6 years later will change something. And that is very important thing for us. And it also means that we always have operational efficiency use cases in our pipeline. So we didn't position artificial intelligence as a customer insight, customer understanding, growth, and recommendation tool only. It was something also that has to bring value in terms of the operational efficiency. And when looking back at the journey, I tried to pick 6 or 7 key topics that are relevant more or less when you are starting the journey or while you are in the journey. And obviously the first thing for us was to decide that how we are going to approach this. Should we start with a kind of common vision or strategy piece to know where we are going? But on the other hand, we had no experience about this topic. So how to create a vision or strategy or roadmap without exactly knowing what you are after. And our approach was that we did a small engagement where we reviewed the content, thought leadership, point of views, use cases across the financial services, insurance, wealth management, and hospitals, because we operate some 5 hospitals under the name Pohjola brand as well. So we identified those created by Accenture or McKinsey or Boston Consulting Group, and identified that, okay, that these are the use cases that are potentially relevant for us. And 3-4 week short engagement So we know that, okay, these are the ones that we should now break into the more details. And we have been on a journey where basically we always see maximum 6 months ahead. And sometimes it would be good to have a kind of vision or strategy saying that, okay, this is what the artificial intelligence will look like, and this is the roadmap that we will implement during the 2 or 3 years. But on the other hand, it kind of, from my point of view, it kind of disrupts the whole thing that, okay, we should be able to create results much faster than traditional ones. So for us, that has been a good choice. But now after 3 years, we start to wonder that would this be a good point of time to kind of lift a bit from the top of the shoes and try to look a bit further. And for funding, this was a tough nut to crack because we didn't know what kind of value to expect. And quantifying the value is very hard. For example, when you start to think that if you understand customers better, will you be able to develop better products and services for them? Yes, you can. If you understand customers better, will you be able to sell more products and services? Yes, you can. But how much more will you sell? Nobody knows. How much better product or services will you be able to develop? Nobody knows. So the value logic was clear, but it was pretty damn hard to investigate and analyze that. What is the potential business case? And obviously in the traditional portfolio games, as in OP, as in the other corporation, I think, these kind of proposals or project suggestions typically don't come on top of the list. And that's why we decided that we will fund this project roughly 10 million a year to get the things moving on the business side and not to put too much risk on the business, but instead of fund it from the first 2 years from the project. And later, we started as a center of excellence by the beginning of this year. And I've seen this kind of program fail during those 24 months, or after 24 months in Nokia and in the Finnish company, media company Sanoma. Because on the first year, it's always a lot of excitement when you are trying to identify the use cases, a lot of hands arise, a lot of excitement. And then if you do 5 or 6 POCs and the results are kind of mixed, then it really kind of, it's really measured if you are serious or not. And that's why I think that funding from the project for the first 2 years, it's the way to go. Because then you can do more things, and with likelihood of success, then it's not so high. The opportunities and use cases. As I said, we identified the big picture from the thought leadership, from the McKinsey and the folks. But we spent a lot of time thinking that, okay, should we try to implement 5 or 50 projects during the first year? And we didn't know which ones will fly and which ones won't. And we ended up going after 50 more than 5. And in many cases, I'd say that in 15 projects out of 50, we ended up ditching the whole idea after we reviewed the data. Because the availability or the quality or the dimensions for the data was simply not there. And during the first year, we ended up implementing like 35 to 40 projects to production. And it kind of took the pressure from the project that if we only implement 5, and 2 of them are a bit late, and one of them, the value is a bit unclear, so things start to fade. So I'd say if you have potential, if you have the possibility, try to identify a bit larger group of use cases that you go after, instead of putting everything to the 5 or 6 crucial ones. And then obviously thinking the nature of the use cases. One of the key findings for us was that we always must have at least one operational use case, operational efficiency use case in the pipeline. Because it's way too easy to kind of take the bottom away from the whole program if all you do is growth and sales support. Because if you are able to sell more to the B2C customers or B2B, there are always departments or always the people who will take the credit for those. And but if you are able to produce like operative efficiency improvements using like chatbots or something like that, it's very concrete. It's man years, it's euros. In our case, the chatbots only, it's millions of euro a year, the operational efficiency cost. And that's something that nobody can take it away from us. And obviously, the anti-fraud, anti-money laundering, all the internal use cases by support functions like IT, HR, marketing and comms, legal, they all were there discussing that, Antti, should we do something with the recruitment or HR and like that, but we always try to focus on the ones that are either on the OP Mobile, op.fi on the browser, or something that is visible for B2C customers. And the logic behind this was that, at least in OP, the way of utilizing the information had been the same for 20-25 years. And the kind of state-of-the-art way of utilizing the information was that you support the decisions made by the humans. So you get the data from 800 operative systems through 200-something data warehouses, in our case, and you make complex things understandable using Clever, ClickView, Tableau, all those guys. And if we would have started the whole artificial intelligence program thinking that, okay, let's now improve how we utilize the information in OP, all we would have ended up with was that year after or 2 years after, better visualizations, better dashboards. And that was something that we really had to kind of take the people's minds away, that traditional way of just highlighting the things and making the decisions by humans. And in our case, it worked like that we discussed that, okay, do you have a challenge with customer service cost? Do you have a challenge with response times on the telecom? Yes, we do. Yes, we do, both. Okay, can we push traffic from call centers to chat? Is it possible? Yes, but we already have 50 people working on chat team. It's pretty damn expensive. But we did that kind of discussions instead of thinking that, okay, how, Antti, would you be able to do better decisions by the visualizations? And obviously, the delivery capability. We had people working with customer insight using SAS and all that, but we didn't have the machine learning engineers and data scientists as such. And we ended up a mix, I'd say that maybe 30 plus consultants during the first couple of years, and then 15, 20 internal people. And we scaled it down now during this 2019, i.e. in the third year. But just to get things rolling, when looking back that decision, I would still make the same decisions. Otherwise, you won't be able to push out 30 plus projects. But on the other hand, we identified that it's pretty painful when you are doing the model management and launching a new models to 5 projects in the same time with different consultants from different companies, all talking to security, all talking to IT. And so it's pretty damn painful as well. And then tools and technologies. This is something for you guys to learn. Late 2016, the technologies from our point of view were very immature. They still are, but they were even more immature then. And we ended up, thinking that, yeah, multi-cloud is the way to go. That we had had AWS, we had Watson for chatbots, and we still had SAS. And during those first 2 years, yes, we were able to do the development projects like crazy, almost 100 implementations in the production. But then during this year, we've kind of faced the pain and paid the price that if you support 4 different cloud platforms or 3 different cloud platforms plus SAS, it will take a lot of machine learning engineer and data scientist time. So in our case, we ended up migrating everything from Azure to AWS, and we took the hit there, but now things are much more easy from the production management point of view. And then obviously about the data. As I said, in many cases it has prevented us to do a certain use case that we want to do. Because in our environment and many other financial institutions as well, it's easily 3 months when you start defining the work. You do the ETLs, and then you do the master data, and you do the mapping of this and that, and it's in 3 months you will have the data. And this is something to think about if you only have like half a dozen SQL servers here or there. Consider, just migrating everything to the certain platform and start doing analytics in 2-3 weeks instead of 2-3 years. So this is something to think about. And about the new roles as well. In our case, it has worked out pretty good that we have a joint team with the data warehousing folks who are bringing the data to the cloud analytics platform in AWS or in Watson for the chatbots. And it has in fact been the only way that we have been successful, because you always have the data warehousing folks and the ETL data engineers doing ETLs. They are always kind of swamped with at least in our environment, the regulations, public reporting, external reporting. So in our case, it brings much more meaning to the data engineer everyday life when he or she knows that, okay, I am bringing these data sources to this use case, and the value for the firm is like this. If they just do data integrations here or there without knowing the use case, it's not too great job for them. And this is kind of one of the learnings, that the data scientist and the data engineers must work together, and the data scientist must bring in and pitch the use case to the data engineers, because otherwise it's not too motivating for them. And then a couple of results that we launched during 2018. Chatbot, we started working with the insurance side and say that, Antti, chat is very popular channel for us. It has been in production 5 years, and the volume has doubled every year. And as a result, we have been doubling the size of the team also taking care of the chats year after year. Not so great. And it means that for SLA for the customers, it easily took like 15 seconds before we were able to respond to the chats. And now when people are they don't want to use the telephone, they want to use chat, and if responding to chats starts to take 15 seconds plus, not a good thing. And it was a very, very interesting case. We took obviously the data, the chat data, identified the top 15, top 25 questions, and took some 3 months to label the data manually. It was painful process. And during that, we also teach kind of chatbot trainers from the business people, because otherwise we would have needed a lot of data scientists to do the data labeling. And data scientist is not a professional on the customer service. And the chatbot people or the call center people, they are professionals on the customer service. And we launched it to the internal employees February 2018, and it worked like that. The bot said that I think that customer is asking this kind of question. Should I respond to him or her using this phrase? So the people were selecting yes or no. And in a 10 week, they came us and said that this chatbot is hitting pretty good success in this kind of questions. So I don't want to click OK anymore. You can go let that pass through right away. And I was like, because that was very interesting thing, because this is one of the use cases where the AI is in fact replacing the role for the humans. And we have now on a good week, the automation level for this service is 60% plus. And it means that there is a lot of less people working with responding to chats, but it has also affected their work. They are much more problem solvers instead of copy-pasting those typical solutions. But I can say that this didn't come easy. So we have used a lot of time to improve the Watson solution with our own components, like NDSML model and those. And then also using a lot of time to do manual labeling for the data. And then another one, personal financial management, kind of a no-brainer, but we didn't have this. And we started with simple features like identify the incomes that come on regular basis. We reviewed the transaction history like 5 years back, and then based on that we identified the incomes, the outcomes, and all that. And as a result, we start to see now better customer kind of understanding and better customer feedback at that our app or OP Mobile in fact gives something valuable, meaningful feedback instead of just highlighting the things. And then a big thing for us, the issue was that especially during the summertime, it easily takes 3 weeks before you can get to the mortgage like interview or discussions in the bank. And especially in the like greater Helsinki area, most of the apartments are sold, within 2 or 3 days when they go to the market. And as a result, people were not happy. And we launched with the business folks app using which you can get the decisions instead of 3 weeks in like 2 or 3 minutes when you are likely on the site. And it gives you the margin, you give the address where you want, you give the size of the apartment, you give how much money you want, and the decision is made here. So in our case, we do on batch basis nightly loads the propensity scores, credit scoring models, and then the app was done by the business people because, with 30-something data scientists, we better to stay behind the APIs, not to be on the front end. Otherwise, we would be doing like 5 projects a year. And then this is something, it may seem you kind of an odd use case, but in our business, it's very good if we have the exact value of property. And originally, we developed this for OP Home, OP Koti, because their business problem was that when they are doing the brokering for the homes, the estimation for the home value, it's always based on the person experience, and it's somewhat not so solid base. And we wanted that we would be able to make a better suggestions for those realtors doing business there. But it turned out pretty soon when we have launched it that this is very valuable also for people working with European Central Bank, because 4 times in a year we always have to estimate what is the value of our the properties that are against our mortgages. And in our case, it's like 40 billion euros. So doing that on a manual basis, no can do. And even if we select, 1,000, 1,500 4 times a year, we call the realtors, what is the value for this? So you can imagine the amount of phone calls and discussions around this. And if we select, 1,500 out of 100,000, the European Central Bank was not happy. And we had been paying, serious money because of this. And now the approach is obviously that we can go through the whole thing automatically 4 times a year and then highlight the biggest differences and biggest changes. And it's always nice to find a use case where improving the existing models makes many people happy. And in this case, this is one of those in our world. And obviously we have to try something else as well. I don't personally know what is the meaning for the speech services a year from now or 2 years from now, or will Alexa be there, will the Google be there, or will be our own app. We have been piloting a year and a half, OP Puhe, OP Speech. And I don't know that, but anyway, this is something that we have to try to be in the game. And from the artificial intelligence, the model logic-wise, it really doesn't matter if the first phase comes from chatbot or from the speech that is transferred to the text. And then wanted to highlight also a couple of changes that we have made after the program phase. As said, I've seen Sanoma and Nokia fail on their 3rd year of this kind of events, on this kind of programs, if you are not good articulating your value, and if you are not bringing operational efficiency cost and savings to the table. And this is something that we done this year. We ended the project phase December and started as a center of excellence for this year. And it has kind of made also the data science more visible and more understandable in the business tribes, because the data scientists, they sit with the tribe teams, they work with the data, they work with the tools, and everybody in the business can see that, okay, this is the value they bring, instead of working somewhere there on the group level on some mysterious AI project. So this is very relevant for us. And sustainable operating model, I'd say that at this point, having some 30 plus data scientists in our own troops, plus the consultants, the center of excellence, it makes sense. When we have 100, 150, it doesn't make too much sense anymore, because then the data scientist must be on the tribes, must be owned by the business. But at this point, it makes good, because the community and the kind of chapters for the data scientist, there are still a lot of good practices to share when reading out or reading in certain type of data. And the downside for this, obviously, is that we don't have too much influence on the business. All we can do is that with our POs to work with the businesses, tribes, and to try to come up with the intelligent use cases. And then the last thing, the cultural change, I think it's that way that this is the year, at least in OP, when this has gone kind of to production big time. So it's not something that we will try, it is something that the value is unclear, this is something that will be here for stay. And with these words, I'd like to conclude my speech. Let's have a questions.